The town of Berlin. Country charm at the center of Connecticut.
Welcome everybody. Call this town council meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call.
Council Campanelli.
Here.
Council Evans.
Here.
Mayor Kaczynski.
Here.
Council Lodi.
Here.
Council Payanessa.
Here.
Council Rochette.
Here.
Council Rosso.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Our first order of business is the audience of citizens. Is there anyone tonight here that wishes to address the council? Seeing no one, we will close that part of the meeting and move on to our consent agenda. We have a motion on the...
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the two council consent agendas for the Berlin Animal Control donation and the library donation.
Second on that?
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. New business. Number one, Denise.
This is a good news agenda item. Actually, if council recalls the approval in September of the funding for the reconstruction of the outdoor basketball and tennis courts at Berlin High School was estimated to be about $550,000. Actually, there was a little bit less once the bids came in for a contract of $475,500. What that did was pay for the reconstruction of the tennis courts and the basketball courts, but basically didn't do a lot of the little or bigger niceties that one would hope could be done at the site. In discussing it with several of the groups that were very interested in seeing the project go through, specifically the Tyler Kopp Memorial Fund, as well as the Berlin Boosters, including for the tennis team and the baseball, football, and other teams. They actually all got on the bandwagon, and I'm pleased to say that there's an additional $10,500 that has been raised to date from the groups, and they are here this evening. Everyone's here to present a check to the town council because this will pay for some of the benches that will go in the middle of the tennis courts and the basketball courts, perhaps some of the landscaping that will be included, including perhaps bleachers on the side of the tennis courts. We have also gotten a grant from our Eversource and the Bright Ideas for the lighting that will be out there to change the old lights to the LED lights. We just recently received word that we were granted about $10,000 for that, but this is going to go a ways, and I do believe that Robin Kopp is here, Bob DeFrancesco, coach of the tennis team, Scott Trevethan, they're all here, and they probably would all like to at least say a few words or get up and present the check to the mayor.
That would be great. You guys want to say a few words first, and then what we'll do is we'll make our motion, and then we'll accept the check. But if you want to tell us a little bit more, we'd love to hear it. And this is, wonderful, wonderful thing. If you would, please. Thank you.
My name is Robin Kopp, and I lost my son Tyler 2 years ago. And Tyler was an avid athlete in the town of Berlin. He was an avid scholar to Berlin High School, McGee, and Hubbard School, all of which have done remembrances for him. And we felt that it would only be adequate to put money back into the town to support athletic as well as academic events, to actually promote new students, old students, academic students, athletic students, to strive for betterment of this town and themselves, whether it's going to college. We're also supplying scholarships to the high school, but we felt that the basketball court would support Tyler's beliefs because he was an avid basketball player, and that was his favorite sport, with Coach Benziano being his coach. So Bob and Scott are very integral on our committee that we do fundraising for. And everything that I want to do in Tyler's memory is to go back to the town of Berlin, where I was born and raised. And my parents live here, and my whole family lives here. So thank you. We would also like to look at August 12th and 13th as a date to secure for these courts. The children, the young adults, and adults of this town would like to hold a fundraiser in Tyler's memory as far as tennis as well as basketball tournament on that weekend and bring the community together.
That's great.
That's a good idea.
Great idea. I don't think that's a problem. We're all sorry for your loss. The whole town is, and agreed with you. But what a wonderful way to remember your son and help out, town sports, which I know he loved.
I have to say that I work with a lot of people in a hospital from Glastonbury to very affluent areas, and they wish they lived in Berlin if anything like this has ever happened to them. Berlin, the people of Berlin, the support system from the politicians all the way down to the teachers to everyone has been unbelievable in this town, and we appreciate it.
It's great to hear. We wouldn't expect less from our residents, so thank you. Bob, any few words from Bob? What do you think, Bob?
Just I hope that this is the first of many that we can give back to the town, like she says. Thank you all for supporting us and,
That's great.
and helping us along the way.
That's great. Thank you. Anything to add? All right, so hang on a minute. Let's just make a motion here.
I'll make a motion to move to accept the donations from the Berlin Boosters, the Friends of Men's Basketball, Baseball, and Football, and the Tyler Kopp Memorial Fund, Incorporated, in the total amount of $10,500 to be used for the various additions as agreed upon with the groups for the BHS outdoor basketball and tennis courts.
Second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's accept that check. Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming.
I was just moving out of the way.
No. By the way, you're the star of the show. Hey, thanks a lot. Thank you very much. All right. Put to good use. We'll feature it right up here. Just, I know Jack Healy's here, just for the benefit of you guys. So how, I know we're into the winter now, but the basketball, the courts and the tennis courts, they're moving along, Jack, just so.
Yeah. All the board, the fence is up, and there'll be some odds and ends that we're doing.
Jack?
Good try, Jack.
He tried desperately.
I always like to sit in the back of the class.
I was letting him slide, but that's all right.
Yeah, well, anyway, the court's been poured, the fences are up, everything's going so far according to schedule.
That's great.
They're going to have to play on temporary lines in the spring, but
Right.
Scott knows that. We've all agreed to that. After that, the official final colors we put down, and it'll all be prepared, ready to go. But no, right now it's on schedule and on budget. We're just waiting for the last couple bids on the lights. The first bid came a little higher than we thought, but the second and third bid look like they're going to be well within what our budget allows us. And the plan is to completely refurbish the lights. The poles, we're not replace the poles, but we're going to have them completely redone, and so they'll look like new. And then the actual lights themselves will be LED lights, similar to what you see throughout the town on the streets. So it'll match, and it should improve the lighting over there.
Oh, great, thanks. Yeah. yes.
While you're here, Jack, the lighting at Zipadelli Field, the LEDs, are they in?
I'm not sure they're in. We got the email that the new heads were received. I'm not sure they've been putting on. They're out right now doing repairs. We've had a little thing where we've got like all the time, about 8 to 10 repairs that have to be done, and we're coordinating with Eversource. I'm not sure they've got to the Zipadelli Field yet.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. All right, thanks again. Thanks again.
Number 2.
Number two, I guess, Denise.
Okay, the Friends of the Worthington Meeting House has obtained a $10,000 grant from the Connecticut Trust for Historic Preservation, and an additional $10,000 grant was also awarded to the town, which was obtained through the Historic District. The trust is now acting as an advisor to the project with a Brad Scheide. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing Scheid, who is the circuit rider for that organization. They're further requesting that the town help in revising the statement of needs to develop a request for qualifications for acceptable grant application purposes. There still is a $35,000 plus balance in the Worthington Meeting House account. We put this on the agenda just to have a discussion because there's really no one department that's responsible for the Worthington Meeting House. So we're trying to develop the statement of needs and who should initiate that request for qualifications. So.
Okay, thanks. Well, Dave, I know since you're the head of our meeting house committee, and certainly you guys are welcome to join in the discussion. I mean, I know we're. Well, Dave, I'll let you know.
I was going to say in the past, the mayor, what had happened is the Friends of the Worthington Meeting House had worked with the Public Building Commission and the Public Building Director or Public Works Director. And I think, something similar here. They need the support, and we also need support of the town. It's kind of they're friends of the meeting house, but we also need to be able to see what we can do to utilize it. We've had some discussions about use of property near and around that, so I think we ought to continue that dialogue. I'd look to what the recommendation from our Public Works Director and Town Engineer might have to the involvement that might be best brought by his department. And certainly like Jack to talk to the action that we want to talk about here. And Mayor too also, the Friends of the Worthington Meeting House, we have representatives here, and I'd like to also have them express their interest and direction that they're trying to go at this point, because they have much good to say.
You can go up if you want. Well,
You guys are next. We'll Jack say a few words, and we'll have you guys come up.
we've met several times about the course to go. And actually, I didn't give it to you, but I came up with a little flow chart, what I thought should happen if you decide to go forward with this. And I wrote it down as basically direction from council to direct us to prepare a statement of need that would come back to the council for approval. That would then go to the Public Building Commission for their development of a request for qualifications for an architect. The architect would be one, and Lorraine has been talking with the State Historic Commission. There are architects out there, and she's better versed in this than I am, that do this type of work, that work with historic buildings. So the request for qualifications would direct toward that type of an architect to prepare design development plans. At that point, the plans would provide the estimates. There is an estimate that was prepared for the meeting house group before. It was in the neighborhood of $1.1 to $1.2 million to renovate that building per the description that they were given, where the first floor would be offices and exhibits and things like that. The basement would be the services, and the upstairs would be open for a meeting room, open room type of a design. At that point, I just put down approval of or acquisition of funding. However, that funding comes through the grants, through the town, fundraising. At that point, once they had the funding, it would go out to you would then either use the same architect or go out again for another set of qualified architects. They would develop plans and specifications. You'd go out to bid, and then you would do the work on the building in either a one-time approach or a phased approach, 1, 2, or 3 phases. I know that Lorraine and I have talked about that, and she can give you her ideas about the phasing on the project.
Okay. So while you're there, whatever you guys think, I would think a statement of needs to have our Public Works work on that for us.
Yeah, Mayor,
Yeah.
just want to add that, if we look at providing them some funding to do that, and if that can be, if you're going to look at it, I think we need to look at incorporating that into the budget that will be presented to us coming up.
Okay.
Where we can fund to the grants, and then if there could be some future funding. And then I think as a council, we need to look at what beyond that we're willing and interested to expend on renovating the meeting house itself.
Okay.
Mayor, I'd like just
Yes.
to make a comment,
Yes.
and I'm just going to go on record here and say that, the meeting house has been kind of a topic for as long as I've been on the council, and I'm not opposed to the meeting house, but we as a council just declined spending money for a new police station, which is public safety, the highest priority in this town, because we said we didn't have the money. So I just would like to proceed with caution. I feel like it would be somewhat difficult for me to go to the public and say, we don't want to spend money on public safety, but we want to spend $1 million, $1.2 million on a meeting house. And, there may be other ways to fund it. I'm not opposed to looking at that, but I do just want to go on record as saying I'd like to proceed with caution.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yeah.
let me interject too. Part of this and the funding and the grants and some of the things that they've been looking at needs to have a little more solidified plan associated with it. So Friends of the Meeting House need to have a little bit further along. Otherwise, there's some grants and many things out there that they couldn't get to. So we're trying to get a little further past that hump, not at a significant expense. And we've certainly talked with the police chief and others about some intent to move forward with some the needed improvements for safety. So, and that will be incorporated into the upcoming budget. So it's not being put down.
Yes. Yes.
I'd like to see us move forward because it's a time-sensitive issue. If we don't at least invest enough to protect that building, we should decide soon that we're going to eliminate the building. It's either one or the other because it's been put off for so long. I think investing enough to investigate that and have an architect give us the drawing so we could pursue budgets would be a good investment because the historic district's an important part of our community. And that's a big part of our history sitting there. If we don't protect it, we're going to lose it.
Okay, I think tonight, hearing everyone here, I think it's just the beginning of a conversation, and definitely go forward with, caution, and we know funding's an issue with everything today, we do, and so, we'll just start talking about it and see where it ends up, but, so I think still the statement of needs, at least we know what we're talking about, and then we can explore it further.
I think this would also be a good example of something we can discuss as a council that can, when the Board of Finance begins next year, that we have a plan for them. As the council of 2016, 2017, is this a priority, is this not? If it is, this is the type of thing that when I mentioned a couple meetings ago, I think it's important as a council we have these discussions. Is this something that is a priority for us so that the Board of Finance can hit the ground running, knowing what the priorities are and how they're going to look to funding them?
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think I'm sure this year in our budget process, as last year, from what I saw, we'll have a list of capital improvements and different things we want to fund. So we can have those discussions going forward. Absolutely. Thanks, Jack. So Lorraine or whoever, just if we want to add to the conversation, we welcome you.
I prepared sort of a synopsis of where we've been this year, so you can read this.
Sit down. Thank you.
I don't know if I'll read the whole
No,
thing.
it's fine. We can read, I think.
Okay.
I
just wanted.
We're still working on it. Yeah, we're working on it.
I just wanted to reiterate this. Earlier this year, Councilman Evans and Panessa contacted me and suggested I contact a consultant that Mr. Panessa knew through an architect friend. And it turned out Brad Scheid, somebody that I've known for a long time. He's worked for Connecticut Trust in the position of circuit rider. And he's often advised the historic district when it comes to preservation matters and putting things on National Register and that kind of thing. And he met with us and he said, it's time that this project happen, and they want to help us make this happen. And he had a lot of ideas about combining tax credits and grants and donations and so forth to at least have enough work done to open the first floor so something could be visible there to people, because there's such negativity in town. They've seen this project on the back burner for so long, they figure the town is never going to do it. And it really hampers our fundraising ability, because people say, I'll donate money, but not until I see something happening. We do get donations through memorial grants and things like that, but we haven't been able to launch a big full-blown campaign because there's so much uncertainty about whether the town ever expects to complete this. I might add, this building has been empty for 40 years. It's a very important building. It's on the National Register of Historic Places. It was built in 1774. We have 2 meeting houses left in town. One is the Kensington Parish, which remained a church. The Worthington one has a really interesting history because it was adaptively reused over time. Was first the meeting house before we had a local town government, then it was a town hall, then it was a school, and then it was offices for the Board of Ed. So it's got a really great story to tell about our town's history. And because it's in the historic district, it's in a prominent place, people from out of Berlin, when they discovered the historic district, they say, wow, we had no idea. All we knew about Berlin was the Berlin Turnpike. And when you drive there, you realize what a beautiful town we do have. And with the train station currently under renovations, that will be a big draw. And the meeting house could be another big draw for visitors to our town. So if you're familiar with the Historical Society now, we've been housed in the Peck Building, which is another historic building of great importance. But we've been there since 1993. We're bursting at the seams, and the building has a lot of environmental issues, which really can't be remediated unless we move out of there. So anyhow, getting back to this whole process this year, after we met with Brad, he encouraged us to apply for these planning grants. It wouldn't cost the town anything to do this. And the council told us to go ahead and do this. So we were awarded these grants in July, and it's been 6 months of me asking, what do we do next to come to this point tonight? So it's a little frustrating because there is a window to these grants. They have to be completed within a year. And already we've gone through 6 months. So I was trying to hope that the timing would be such that we could apply for a restoration grant in July. But now it's like really iffy because of the timing of this whole thing, because I know it takes a long time to get another architect on board, or if we're going to stay with Silver Petrocelli, getting the plans done so we could do that. So timing is always important, and I know people at Town Hall are very busy with other projects, but we've been very patient with this, and I think this only continues because I refuse to give up on this building. And Sally and the rest of us, we're never going to give up on this. At some point, you're going to have to do something because we're not going away. It's been a learning process for a lot of us. This was the first and only project the town has done that involves restoring a building like this. And we've made a lot of mistakes. When we got the last grants, the last plans, we didn't know that we needed design development plans. I'm not an architect. I didn't know. We didn't get the right advice. The town didn't know. We had asked that an architect with historic preservation experience be hired, who had grant experience, and maybe we would have realized that better if we had somebody else. I don't know. But it has been quite a learning experience, but we owe it to this building. And the amount of money that's already been invested in this to stabilize this, you can't just let this sit forever. So we're hoping for some direction now, like, what do? We need a statement of need. Who prepares that? And how do we move forward at this point?
Okay, so with that in mind, since you have the grant money, that'd be a terrible thing to waste. So, Jack, if you could move forward with statement of need, and I'm sure Dave, with your commission there, we could.
Yeah, so Mayor, what is being asked here is really just to get to design development plans.
Okay.
And the grants there, it sounds like Mr. Healy has that schematic of the steps that could be taken. And I think we just need to move forward with that and give Mr. Healy some direction to go forward with that. The $20,000 that's funded there, those are dollars that already exist and can be there. So it's, you know, with the way we've set up with the new charters going to Public Building Commission to say, hey, here's some funds to get something done. And I think that's what, if we look closer at Mr. Healy's schematic on the steps to get it there, if this is saying, here's the funds, here's the place to go get it done. And you know, similar to what the Public Building Commission did before, I think we sold a little short of the, you know, using $10,000 just to get some conceptual plans and to get the grants. I mean, the key statement that you have in here is that in order to apply for construction grants, they need design development plans. And so the Friends of the Worthington Meeting House had gone out, they found some grants working with this individual, and are now in a position to say, all right, we have 6 months left, we have these funds available, can we utilize the town's Public Building Commission to go forward and use these grants to come up with a solid plan? Then the Friends of the Worthington Meeting House could then go out and look to raise those funds. And people would be interested in putting that money in rather than, oh, we'll just keep throwing good money after bad. So it's not putting anything else ahead of another. The funds are already there. Let's go down the steps to get there. The question on it says discussion concerning who should create a statement of need. Mr. Healy, in your steps, who's creating that statement of need? Is it the Friends of the Worthington Meeting House, or is it some of our experts in the Public Building Commission, or is it someone else?
But yeah, just
Come on up.
Dave, I was going to say, last
You're
time,
volunteering for a job. I want you on record.
can I, I'll just say,
Volunteering somebody else for a
last
job.
time, when we got, when we did the statement of need last time, when Silver Petricelli was hired, I wrote the statement of need, but then I was told by the town I couldn't write it because the Friends is not a town organization. We're separate from you guys, even though you own the building. So Art had reworded it and put his name to it. So that was the ruling back then.
Is that still, Mr. Jack?
my understanding, yes.
That's the understanding.
So,
Yeah.
we have the draft.
So now it's taking that draft, now that we have some better direction on what the industry's out there, that the preservation grants and the construction grants. Now if we phrase that in a way that we can actually get on board someone that's going to give us what we need to go after those grants, then you're going to have some more success in raising funds to do something with that, is my understanding of what you've presented
Right.
so far.
And we had an estimate that it would cost about $20,000. Now, I don't know if that will hold when we get bids from people, but we'll see.
Right, and you'd indicated what funds are there in the Worthington Meeting House account. And I know at one point there was an amount there that was looking, okay, can we stabilize the cupola? And I don't know if that's still part of that 35,000, but you need to make sure that we're very specific in going forward with this, where you would utilize these grants for very, very specific design development plans for grant and fundraising. So you'll have success in going to raise funds. And you know, if there's stomach for it in the community and they want the town to do any matching or any part of that construction funds, then you're going to have a solid plan. And we had a conceptual design that was presented. Now it needs to go to a design development plan. That's my understanding of it, and ask questions if that doesn't seem to make sense to us as a council.
Yeah, yes.
As part of those design development plans, Jack and Lorraine, you might even know as well, one of the big issues is just availability for parking. There just is not a lot of land around it. Is that piece included in those design development? Because that's going to be a significant hurdle, I think, if we're going to make it a meeting space. What are the requirements for, parking, that sort of thing? So we want to make sure that that is going to be able to occur, should we need it.
That's going to have to be part of it, yes.
Okay, all right.
Along with some of the things that were missing previously were that handicapped accessibility.
Yeah.
You need those types of that type of information to go forward. I mean, without that, you're back to just a conceptual plan, but it doesn't address those specifics. Where does the handicapped accessibility go? How does that impact the historic? Someone's got to understand that from a historic perspective and how they work with your historic district.
Mm-hmm.
I've had some experience in Litchfield with this, and you can do stuff that's not being seen, but anything's being seen. You have to be very cautious about how you affect the building. You can't put an elevator shaft on the outside of the building on the front side, things like that. So the parking is going to be parking will have to be part of that. There are requirements.
Okay.
Okay, so do we have a plan then going forward after our discussions?
Yeah,
Do we
I have the schematic, I laid out, and I can even formalize that and send it to you, but yes, and Lorraine's already put together a statement of need, it just needs to be tweaked a little bit.
Okay. Yes.
Aside from the formal structure, I'd like to make a suggestion to the Historical Society. Pam Pethickel's been working on me, and so has Lorraine. But there's a process at the school called Capstone, where students adopt a project. Recently, they're going to have a bicycle race down off Chamberlain Highway. I think it would behoove the society to go to the history department at the high school and explain where you are, what you want to do. And aside from the formal aspects of this that we have to provide for you, I think that would be a major boost for the society to get someone to adopt it as a capstone project. I mean, it's a phenomenal what these kids have done in these capstone projects.
It's a requirement to graduate now, so everybody has to do one. So if you can get someone interested in going into history, that's a great idea, Peter.
But what would be the project? Like, what would they do?
Whatever you decide, what comes
but
from
it may
the...
bring some awareness to,
Yeah.
If they're going to do, like, they're doing a ride on Chamberlain Highway, they might be able to do fundraising for you as part of, I don't know what but it might be worth looking into.
It's worth
Yeah.
checking into it. But I would go with the history department, I think.
Yeah, because they can even bring its history forward, and explain it, and maybe help you to fundraise. I mean, whatever.
Promotional materials or something for you guys.
I think their projects are only limited by their imaginations, pretty much, right? From what I understand, at
We,
Capstone.
we have one kid doing a capstone project that contacted us because he wants to change the name of Redcoats. And he's doing,
well, there's another one.
He's doing research on that through us.
That's funny.
So I'm familiar with the program, but if they could be somehow involved in fundraising, that would be, or creating public awareness, that would be great.
They would.
Maybe we could have some sort of program that they would volunteer for.
Yeah. All that.
The other thing I was going to ask, would it make an impression on you if we were to get a petition from people interested in seeing this project move forward? I mean,
I don't know if we're at that stage yet. I mean, I think we're all, from what I hear, we're in favor of it. We just want to, figure out the best way to go forward with it. And obviously, costs are always a concern. But if we can get grants and you could start fundraising, that alleviates some of that. So I don't think anyone up here is against saving our meeting house and fixing it up. I mean, I think that's what we want to do. We just have to find the best way. Most fiscally responsible way too to go forward with it. So, yeah, I don't.
Okay.
I mean, you can do if you'd like, but I don't think that. I think we're all on board.
Yeah, okay,
to
well, some
move
people
forward.
suggested
Yeah.
that, because at
Yeah.
the story shares, we're getting so many people at these programs.
Yeah.
And I go all over town, and people are talking about them, and they're asking me about the meeting house and
Well, it's good to
all
hear,
that,
though.
so-
But that's great you're here and telling us that, so
Yeah.
we know there's interest. I mean, and I think we've all heard from people in town that have told us they're interested
Yeah.
in the building and what are we doing. It's been sitting there for all these years. We haven't done anything yet, so. Yeah.
Okay.
And, people can come, once we go forward, whatever public hearings we may have, if we get that far, how far we get, have them come forward and speak out about it as well.
Okay.
All right?
Thank
Great.
you.
So I think we have thanks for coming, and I think we have a
Thanks, Mayor.
plan to go forward for the short term.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm okay. Thank you, ladies, very much.
No, I think we just had discussion, so.
Yeah, Mr. Healy has some direction on where
Yeah,
to go next
right.
with it.
Right, we've given Mr. Healy some direction, a historical society, and so we can move forward. Hopefully, we can use that grant money and get something out of it. Okay, number 3.
Number 3 and 4 are actually both from Doug Solik in the Facilities Department, and they are to increase the current purchase orders for 2 vendors, both on the State of Connecticut Department of Administrative Services contract. The first is Electrical Wholesalers, who is on average provided the most competitive pricing of the 3 local vendors when there's purchases being made. They purchase regularly from them, but it's getting to the point where it's going to exceed the $10,000. They are requesting authorization to go up to $25,000 with the vendor, and that's for the electrical wholesalers. The second one is FW Web, for also on the Department of Administrative Services, and this is for in the schools. They do a lot of volume of work performed by the staff at the schools, and this is to increase from $10,000 to $25,000 as well.
Okay, great. Motions on these?
Okay, number 3, move to authorize the town manager to increase the purchase order 170286, utilizing State of Connecticut DAS contract 14 PSX 0009AA from Electrical Wholesalers, Inc. for a sum not to exceed $25,000.
Second on that?
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? Should I say that first? All right, we're all set, thank you. And motion on number 4?
Okay, move to authorize the town manager to increase purchase order number 170287, utilizing the state DAS contract number 10PSX0060AB from FW Web for a sum not to exceed $25,000.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved, thank you. Number 5.
This is a water control issue. The SB Church Company has drilled all the wells in the Elton Road well field from the early 60s all the way up until 2014, when they just recently drilled well 1B. They are the most historically familiar with all of our wells, having updated them routinely from the original drilling process. The well 1A in that area has shown a depleted pumping rate. It's gone from 350 gallons per minute to less than 200 gallons per minute. They are indicating that they have to be redeveloped, install a new pump, and accomplish the work. They have provided, SB Church has proposed and provided a cost of $39,504 to do this work. They are seeking a 15% contingency for a cost not to exceed $45,430. There is funding in the account, and which was previously apportioned from one of the water control accounts, and there's an additional the balance of $21,430 will be taken from the miscellaneous capital improvement. Ray is not here this evening, but Jack is here to address any questions. They're looking to waive the bidding requirements because SB Church is the most familiar and it's in the best interests of the town.
Yeah, unfortunately, Ray is at the Water Control Commission meeting right now, so
Oh,
I'm
okay.
stepping in for him.
Oh, okay. Anything to add to that, Jeff?
No, other than we are right now, the well, unfortunately this year with the drought, everything's being magnified. But the well field there, the production from the wells there has decreased. to the point where we actually 1A is dropped from 350 gallons a minute down to below 200 gallons per minute. That one is going to be replaced by 1B, but we are not to the point where we can put 1B online yet. We're working with our contractors to get someone to come in and actually, we just got approval from the State Health Department to put that online, so now we have to get the contractor to come in and put the pump and the plumbing and everything that needs to be put in place there. The one that we're looking at doing the renovation on 2A needs to be essentially service cleaned. It was last cleaned 12 years ago. They need to surge it. Surge it is where they actually reverse the flow in the well. They scour the inside, the screen and everything, and they should be able to increase the flow from from where it's about 250 gallons a minute to up above 350 to 400 gallons a minute. Once we're able to get the new well on and that well back to its production, we'll be able to produce almost 1 million gallons. That aquifer is rated for 1 million gallons of water a day, which would supply most of what we need for the town of Berlin. Right now, what we're doing is we're buying water from Cromwell, from New Britain, so we increase the cost to our residents. We want to get this all back online and in place by this spring. We met today, and I've asked Ray to go ahead and make arrangements to get the contractor to be in February to install the new plumbing on 1B. But this, we need to waive the bid requirement so SB Church can do the work on this well. We feel that they're the most qualified, they have the most history, and it is in the best interest of the town to go and go with them.
Okay. All right, let's have a motion. We'll put a motion on the floor, then we can.
Move to waive the bidding requirements for SB Church to purchase and install a new pump and clean and redevelop well 2A for a cost not to exceed $45,430, as this is in the best interest of the town.
Second.
Second.
Discussion, any questions?
Yeah, I just had a question for Mr. Healy as to what comparisons that you made to see whether this is representative cost-wise. Yeah, they may be the most qualified, but if they're doing it at twice the cost of what others could do it with a little coaching, what comparisons are out there, or what yardstick are you using?
Since Ray isn't here, I'm not sure what Ray has. Ray has the history of doing this for many years. He came to me, he felt that theirs was very cost competitive, but I don't have Dave if he actually got a competitive estimate from anybody or not. They're the ones that have done it in the past. I can tell you the installation of a new well sounds about right at $11,000 to $12,000. That sounds about right. The actual cleaning and development, I don't have a comparison for that. I'd have to get that we'd have to find that from Ray, but they're the ones that have done it. They did it in 12 years ago. They are the ones most familiar with the well.
Mayor, Rachel.
Yes.
I have a couple questions. First, so I just want to make sure I'm clear. 1B will not be replacing 2A. They will run simultaneously together.
Correct.
Okay.
1B is replacing 1A.
1A, okay.
Yeah.
Second is, when you said these wells would supply water to the town of Berlin, is that just the Berlin water control people, or would that include Kensington and Worthington districts as well?
New Britain, most of Kensington's water comes from New Britain,
Okay.
almost directly. We being Berlin, supply the water to Worthington. And I think
Okay.
we're almost exclusive to Worthington that way. So it's a myriad of pipes that go through underneath the town.
Yeah.
And there are metering stations, and we meter each, back and forth. But the Berlin Water Company provides water to Worthington. We also technically provide water to Kensington, but the majority of water for Kensington comes from New Britain directly.
Okay, I'm just wondering, as we hopefully continue to explore merging into one water district, which I would love to see, if these wells would be sufficient to cover really the whole town.
Probably not. We'd probably continue to have some interconnection with New Britain, some interconnection with Cromwell.
Okay.
Right now, we are actually exploring an expansion of our connection from Cromwell. There's been some discussion with MDC. We recently, the Water Utility Control Commission is in the state. There's 3 districts. We're in the central. You had to basically request allocation of water rights in certain areas. For some reason, Berlin's water rights were not all allocated. We requested that the areas that were not allocated be allocated to the Berlin Water Company. The last meeting I went to, we were told there were no conflicts, so there are water rights in those areas and also service areas that we have to provide. So we did apply for that.
Okay. And last question, and this is more of a, I don't know, procedural question, just in terms of water control budget, operating budget versus town budget. So with things like the well, how do you differentiate what comes out of water control for maintenance and that sort of thing versus what the town is responsible for?
Basically, something like this would be definitely a water control or a water related expense, but there is sometimes maybe a blurred distinction on occasion, but most of the time if it's pipes or things that are necessary to provide the water to a building, that would be water control rather than town.
Yeah, and we actually, when Kevin Delaney on board, we developed now that we've got ourselves a draft P&L statement so monthly we can look at to see where we stand. We're also we're working on policies that say that the water part of the business and the sewer part of the business will have a percentage that you have to keep in reserves so to be able to cover incidences where if a well went down or something like that. So we have money in reserves. We've come up with we came up with a policy between Kevin and I that we think about 25% of the value of all of the assets, both depreciated assets and total assets, would be enough to cover future expenditures. And so then we're going to look at how how do you charge for that? Do you need to have a rate increase or not? Right now we're almost there. We were actually pleasantly surprised when we started looking at numbers. We're not in bad shape.
Okay.
That's good to hear.
So this 45,000 should be covered by
The water.
the payments that are coming in from the water customers?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks, sorry.
Yeah, the accounts are the 843 accounts that you're drawing from, which is based on the revenue from the water users themselves.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, great. Any other
Makes sense.
questions? Okay, motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you. Thank you, Jack. Number 6.
This is the last payment that is needed for the streetscape project. Unfortunately, the funds from the grant had been expended, so this is the final payment that's needed for Luke's as well as Laverio. If you recall, there were some issues with the ADA crosswalk as well as the gas line that went underneath where the YMCA's building is. So that had to be re-engineered, and there's additional funds that are due. This would be taken from the town bonded road improvement account. I know that there's been a lot of discussions with this project. I have to say that this is the first project that has, since I've been town manager and even before, that has come in a little bit above what the allotted monies in the grant were. And it was for some unforeseen circumstances that I believe got worked out. There may, I don't want to mislead council, though, there may be other funds in the future. Jack and I have talked at great length, and Jack is going to be taking, as we had indicated last council meeting, has taken upon himself to meet individually with a lot of the businesses in the area. So there may be, after the winter, some adjustments needed because of things that aren't working. So there may be some other funds that might need to be spent, but I think it would be money spent wisely because the businesses have been impacted, and I think everyone's heard from others that this may not necessarily be the best plan. I don't know if that's the right word, but that all of the plans to calm the traffic and things like that maybe calmed it a little too much. So this is the last payment for now, but anything else that needs to be done would also cost money in the spring or the summer. So
we would finish paying this, but I think I've all heard, as Denise said, from many people in town, and I think the businesses too have been unhappy, right, with what has happened here.
I've met, we had a meeting with the majority of the businesses along Main Street. We asked them to come in and talk to us. We talked about future plans and things we try to do to help them, including possibly looking through a grant that economic development's looking into. Use that there's a triangle behind the buildings, taking that, renting it back for $1, cleaning up, paving it, putting some plantings, and making that into a municipal parking lot. And then also, but as part of that conversation, it's just, to be honest, it's not working for them. I don't know how else to put it to you. I got to be direct. This plan is not working for them. Several of the businesses have said they've lost up to 20% of their business. I don't have anything substantiated that, but that's what they've told me. I had lunch down at Kensington Pizza. Spoke with the owner of Kensington Pizza. He's vocal, but he sits down, he talks to me, and tells me what his views are. He's gone so far as I have 12 not to be submitted petitions. I haven't verified anything. It's unofficial petitions, but he has over 240 signatures of people who don't like the design, don't like the way it's working out. So I asked him to give them to me. I said I'll bring them to the council meeting, present them for him. So it's not working for them, and I think with some tweaking, some modifications in the spring, I think that we can adjust it and make it so it works for them. I asked them. They said at the beginning they weren't asked their opinions. They said again, this happened several years ago, but they said that they didn't have a lot of input into the process, and so they're not happy with the result, and they would appreciate consideration of changing it.
That's okay, and I mean, I guess, we will have to fix what maybe we have to fix, as we explore it. And I guess the one question as we go forward, if whatever we do with this project is, let's not let it happen again. So hopefully we have learned some lessons from what happened here. Maybe it was all done right. I don't know. I mean, we have to examine it and make sure we don't do this again, because I mean, there does seem to be a lot of outrage. I mean, I don't know if it's all, true or not, but some things probably were designed wrong, right? So yeah.
What is it the parking? Is it the way the parking is set up? I'm sorry?
I have a list.
Okay. Well, I think it's important that we
Yeah.
understand what their concerns are.
The primary thing is they tell me there's not enough parking.
Yeah.
So I went back and we have 17 parking spaces along that stretch currently as it's designed. The best I can tell, going back, I looked at old aerial photographs and things. There was about 21 to 22 parking spaces there prior to the project. Now, I got a little more input recently from the building owners. They said at some point there was a few more spots near Dairy Queen that were taken away about 5 to 8 years ago. There was a project there that they did
Probably
something.
when you redesigned Dairy Queen, right?
Mind you, though, and
The
I
road.
don't know this for sure, but many of those parking spaces were not necessarily legal parking spaces because
Yeah.
the
They're in front of. I
yeah.
know where they are.
So there may have been 21, I don't know the exact number, but, some of them were probably lost when Dairy Queen was reconfigured in that little area to the right of the drive-through, kind of.
Right.
But, yeah.
The 21, 22 that I came up were lined spots, looking at old aerial photographs and things.
People parked wherever they wanted.
There's a duration of time of parking. There's not a limit on parking. So we did send a request to the police commissioners to consider putting a 2-hour parking limit, and that's another one of their main concerns. They don't particularly like the design of the brick walkways. They say that cigarette butts get caught in between the bricks, and there's just grass growing up between them. I've had several calls from the people exiting the bank that because we put changed the parking, that they can't see looking up Main Street, looking to the west, that their vision gets blocked, so that they're concerned about coming out into traffic. There's truck turning restrictions with the islands, so the islands need to be modified. We've talked about lowering them so that they're flush with the pavement. Snow removal, and last one, snow removal concerns, which this weekend really came to light. So those are the primary concerns I have.
That lot you're talking about behind, that's town property or what? No, who owns that?
There's about 5 different owners right now. That's
that own
part of
that
the
piece?
issue, yeah.
Okay.
I've had experience doing that before, and what you do is you work on an agreement with you
Yeah.
lease it back to them for $1, from them for $1. They continue to own it.
Yeah.
The town enters into an agreement where you pave it and we maintain it. We've done that in Litchfield, and we actually have in literally, I have a large enough area that we have municipal restrooms and everything back there, and the town maintains it.
Okay. So you're met the, heard their concerns, and what are we doing? I know tonight that's not what's on the agenda, but we vote some more money to, I know we got to pay off what we did already, I guess, but going forward, we're going to look at some modifications you're going to bring to us at some point?
Yeah, I'd look to bring in
If you
some
think it's
modifications, February and March.
Okay.
We'll look at lowering the islands, reducing the size. If you look at the islands that they've got from coming out from the sidewalks, reducing the size of those islands coming out, trying to put back some parking spaces. Things
Right
like
now,
that.
and how would we pay for that? We're going to pay for that now this was all grant money. How are we going to pay for the fix?
That's what we're looking into.
Yeah.
Actually, economic development is looking into a phase 2 grant. We've asked the question whether or not we can use some of that money
For the other grant we have.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I?
Yeah.
I'm. That road was closed for a while, not closed completely, but closed to one-way traffic. So, I think that probably contributed to loss of, revenue. So I think if we're going to do remediation, we need to be really concerned with that we're not shutting down that road, because I think they'll see an impact to that. So if there's a way we can do it without impacting customers, if possible. I don't know if that's possible, but something we should definitely keep in mind.
Okay.
If I could just understand what we're paying for, the town got a grant to do this project. We hired a traffic engineer who's supposedly well-versed in this kind of construction that designed the project that couldn't be built for the amount of the grant, so now we've exceeded that grant. And he left deficiencies, he left out handicap access, and now we're paying him extra to repair those deficiencies?
We're not paying him. No, his contract's come done. The future work, as far as going forward, we wouldn't necessarily use him. The extras that we're paying for, this is part of the discussion we had before. At the beginning, and again, this goes back many years, and I don't know how proceeded. My understanding is they never allocated funds to do a complete survey of the road. So therefore, they were told to build it as is, match, and it didn't meet the handicapped accessibility requirements as far as pitch and things like that. And also as part of that, they didn't do a survey of where the gas lines or service lines and things like that, and that's where the extras came into it.
I built a couple of things, and just sometimes at some point the designer bears some responsibility for the problems, but from what I'm hearing, no. The taxpayer is going to make up the difference on this one, because it exceeded the state grant, right?
Yeah, well, the grant didn't cover all of some of the costs before weren't all covered by the grant. The purchase order was, when it was issued, used the majority of the state grants, but some of it was also town funds.
Okay.
So.
Yes.
I was on economic development prior to April 1st, 2014, and we did an outreach to the people on that street.
Okay.
And our original idea was to make that a one-way street, if you recall. And they were up in arms, so we listened, and we said, fine, it won't be a one-way street. So I think they're zooming you a little bit when they say they weren't really contacted.
This was also a process, if council recalls, or those that were on, we had to go to each individual owner to get the easements, and at that time, the project was explained to each and every one of them. So there may have been some misunderstanding, or they didn't see the final plans, but each owner had to sign an easement, and I think that council, I know Councilor Evans and Rochette were on. This was quite a lengthy process, and so, and you're right, that originally it was looked to be a one-way. Then, because there was a accident where someone was hit, there was an effort to slow the design was made to slow the traffic down, because people coming from the west going east tend to go quite fast. And with Dairy Queen also changing at the time, and you're only supposed to take a
Right.
right out of Dairy Queen instead of left. You know, there were a lot of different things that entered into all of this, so.
And we had meetings, we had public hearings at the
Oh, yeah.
library,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there- I mean,
Yeah.
this went, I think, through the
Oh, it
process.
was a
That does not
long-
negate their
no.
concerns. I mean,
No.
there
Yeah.
are definitely concerns that I think we have to address, but, you know,
Agreed.
I think
Didn't
it's
happen
just a
overnight.
series of unfortunate events that occurred with this particular development project. It just, you know, it's unfortunate how it played out.
I have heard many compliments on how it looks
think it
now that
looks
it's
great.
done, as well as, and I'm maybe not 240 or however many are on the petitions, but there are quite a few people who have commented on how they like that, as well as, you know, leading up to the Deming Park and up Main Street.
I mean,
So-
I think it looks nice. It
Yeah.
just may not be functional,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But I mean, we
So
have
there's-
the. I
there's-
think it's
Makes you slow down.
complicated. Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, I know it's certainly not an easy process. So,
So.
all right. So, you know, I know you're going to be back in front of us with the rest of it. I know that's not this, but while we were here, it's good we heard what's going on, and I appreciate that input. So we have. We made a motion, right? We have a motion on the floor for discussion? Yeah. Oh, so all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Number 7.
This is a requirement as the Public Works and Engineering Department is responsible for maintaining bridges, culverts, and structures. The High Road Bridge over the Sabeth River is being replaced, and that was initiated years ago through the, at that time, the Central Connecticut Regional Planning Agency. The state is looking for a resolution authorizing me to sign the local bridge program supplemental application and any associated agreements so that the bridge project can be completed.
Okay. Motion on this?
Okay, move to authorize the town manager to sign the local bridge program supplemental application and any associated agreements between the state of Connecticut and the town of Berlin. High Road over Sabeth River Bridge number 007-112. State project 9007-00112.
Second on that?
Second.
Any questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Great. Favorite?
One of council's favorite agenda items. As you know, the option agreement between the town and the Berlin Housing Authority is set to expire at the end of this month. So we just, after discussions with Corporation Council as well as the mayor, decided that perhaps it might behoove us, using Peter's word, to extend it an additional month, as we have started to at least have discussions with DEEP about changing the grantor on the easement, as well as other things that just haven't lined up. And with the holiday season, perhaps an additional month might make things a little clearer for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we're at. I
One
don't know.
month.
Corporate counsel, you want to add anything? I know you've had several discussions
Yes,
with
the
Denise,
town
with everyone.
did send, to reiterate what the town manager just indicated, after communications with DEEP, the town did send on December 16th a detailed written request to Graham Stevens, who's the Director of Constituent Affairs and Land Management for DEEP, a formal request for the grantor substitution, providing both the support and the background for the request. So it's not likely that we'll hear anything between now and December 31st.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so hence the extension for a month, and hopefully we'll get on that, right, or they will. It's really in DEP's hands, right? I mean, that's really where it
It's
sits.
critical from the Housing Authority's perspective to meet their February pre-funding
Right,
submittal deadline. That happened in January.
right. Well, all right, well, we could all say some extra prayers, I guess, that DEEP realizes the urgency of it. I hope they do. If not, I guess, what would be we're back to cutting that parcel off, right? I mean, this easement, we just can't seem to get it released either way, right? Either releasing it or changing the grantor or what?
Right.
Is that?
Carving out that piece obviates the need for the modification or release of the conservation easement.
Except now.
And Deep had some questions that we also had, so it may not be quite so easy, although there's hope that they will see fit to just change the grantor.
It's the season of hope, so we can always hope, but, yeah, so,
Season of miracles.
yeah,
The way that the request was couched was to point out to Deep that the purpose of the conservation easement would not be disturbed or otherwise undermined by this transfer, because this acreage is not to be developed, which was Deep's intent at the time that the open space agreement was entered into, and the housing authority has indicated that it will not be developed. So, since it's not a request due to a desire to vary from the original intentions the parties had when they entered into the open space agreement, rather than to accommodate housing authorities' plans without having to incur additional expenses for further revisions.
right. Okay, well, it's the best I think we probably have at this moment. We all, along with Deep, have a lot of questions about a lot of things, and we really don't have a lot of answers. And we've tried to get answers. The town has, the Corporation Council has, I have, in phone calls. We've had the Housing Authority here. They've tried to answer some things, I understand. So I think it's the best we can come up with at the moment, and good phrase, hope, Denise, that we can, good word, that hopefully in January, maybe Deep will come to our aid. So, with that, if we could have a motion.
Move to authorize the town manager to enter into agreement, or into an amendment to the option agreement between the town of Berlin and the Berlin Housing Authority to extend the option period to January 31st, 2017.
Second on that?
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. Number 9.
Deputy Mayor Luddy had sent out the town council proposed calendar, I think at the last council meeting, and this is just the attached calendar to be approved for 2017 and January of 2018.
I'd like to make an adjustment here, a couple corrections, or one correction really. I think it was a typo on my fault. The meeting in January 2018, the second one should be the 16th, right? For stick formula.
January what?
There was some minor tweaking that was done since the previous handout. All right. I think I suggested to Councilor Luddy to move the dates in July a little bit because of the Independence Day week, and then also not having meetings in August, and then
Ms. Campanelli wanted meetings in August, didn't you? No, I'm just kidding. I know.
I was suggesting one in July.
Yeah, I get it.
One in July.
Yes, no, I know. We're good.
and
We'll
I
stick
think
with
too
August.
is with the November ones, with the because you.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the election, so.
Yeah.
So basically, you
Made the changes.
said we don't really have one after the election typically, so just have one in November. Instead of
Okay.
July.
And what'd you say about January? That's
Yeah.
supposed to be the
The
16th.
16th?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Instead of what, you mean January
Tonight.
2nd and the 16th? or-
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Instead of
Yeah, I said the 2nd and the 9th.
oh, I
16th.
get you.
Okay, we got all our questions answered?
Just
Yep.
in addition, there's the other ones that lay out kind of a schedule for budget meetings.
Yep.
So
Oh,
that,
yeah.
the only other comment I'd have with respect to the annual budget hearing, and this was just some conversation I had with Mr. Delaney this morning about the location. I don't want to run into the play issue again.
Oh, yes, right. yes.
And so I've asked that they've secured McGee, but I don't know if the play will be again a conflict, and I asked if the high school auditorium might be available.
It's bigger. It's
So-
more.
It's open now.
So,
But it might be the high school musical, but I think the high school musical is the weekend before that typically.
yeah, so
I
I've
think
got
that-
the, I'm asking that he would, so we wouldn't necessarily publish the location, but it would be the budget hearing on that date is
Okay.
what my suggestion is, that we don't necessarily define the location, just the date of the hearing, and that we can
Makes
work
sense.
out the best location that would be available to us.
Okay. All right, great. Anything else? If not, we'll have a motion on the calendar.
Okay, move to approve the attached calendars for the town council meetings for 2017 and January of 2018 with the noted changes.
Second on that?
Second.
Well, any discussion, further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. So, town manager's report, Denise?
Just a change, in January, there was scheduled a public meeting for the transit-oriented development plan on the same evening as the opioid substance abuse forum. So the transit-oriented development plan public hearing will now be Wednesday, January 25th instead of January 11th. So it'll be at the Berlin Community Center from 6 to 7:30, and I'll send this out to council so that they can put this on their calendar as well, but I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, thanks for that change. I know, Kristen, you had asked, I had asked as well to not do it that night. So, yeah, that's great. They
Thank you. That's it.
worked it out, so great. Okay, good. Special committee report?
Mayor, just to ask
Yeah.
the
Oh.
town manager if we could have Sheila Wagner put that out as an invite, similar to what is
Yeah.
being done
Sure.
for other events. Might be in that collection. I don't remember.
Could be.
And, all right, so special committee reports? Any special committee reports? Yes.
So, I don't have a special committee report, but I'd like to request that we have a meeting of the ordinance committee.
Oh, yeah. I think we're gonna schedule one in January anyway.
Yeah,
but,
I'd
yeah.
like to talk about the backyard chickens.
Okay.
Um,
Backyard chickens.
There's
Yeah.
a new ordinance
Yes.
that Sheila, not Sheila,
Helen.
wow.
There's new ag regs I passed.
Helen?
Yes, new regs, Helen,
Yes.
it was Helen,
Helen.
that's right. Helen came in and sort of explained the new situation. I know there are some people who are very, very unhappy about this. And I'd like to see what we could do, if anything, to resolve the chicken issue. It seems pretty easy to just pull the chickens out of the livestock definition. I don't know if that's something that we could look
Yeah.
at or talk about, or just
Yeah.
any other options.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we can talk about it. It's, I was on planning and zoning when it started. I wasn't on it when it ended. It's more complicated than you might think, but maybe what we can do is if we have the ordinance committee meeting, have either Chairman Moore or Helen or both.
That'd be good,
Give
yeah.
us the background, since we didn't have the benefit of sitting through, several public hearings,
Yeah.
right, Denise,
Right.
on that? I know they did a lot of work, but
There's also, you had wanted to have an ordinance committee
For the dog
for the
stuff.
dogs.
Yeah,
So if you want to have that on the same night rather than do
Yeah.
two
I think
different.
dogs and chickens, I think that's fine for the
That'll be
night.
an
Yeah.
interesting night.
Yes,
That'll
it
be
should
an
be a,
interesting
it should be a
meeting.
fun night. So,
Okay.
but, yeah, that's right, no hunting dogs, yeah, there you go. But yeah, so
Okay.
we'll combine it. I know I
Excellent.
think we talked about sometime mid-January and later we'll get one together and we'll add.
That would be great, thank you, I
chick,
appreciate that. and I'm
At
sure-
least maybe start with an education
Yeah,
from them, since
Yeah.
they've kind of been working on it, and we'll learn, and then we can figure out
Gonna have a busy January.
what to do
Yeah.
from there.
I appreciate that, thank you. It's-
Yeah.
It's important to a lot of people, so.
Yeah, no, I have heard from
Yeah.
people, yes, people have said that. I know that wasn't included in the new regs they passed, so I think they left it the same way, I believe.
No,
Did they
it's
did they
actually
take it?
excluded.
Excluded
It says
completely? They left it on farms, though, I think, right?
They're allowed to be on farms,
Right.
which have to be 10 acres or
10
3
acres or more.
acres of various parcels combined, but
Right.
3 acres of the smallest parcel, so it's,
Okay. It's different than it was.
yeah,
obviously, but
and that's a huge area. I mean, there
Yeah.
are some people with,
Smaller.
an acre and a half that want to have, 3, 4 chickens, and
Yeah.
I don't see the issue with 3
Yeah.
or 4 chickens on an acre and a half of property, but that's me. So
Yeah.
that's why I want to have the discussion.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine. We should probably be up to date on that anyway, so we know what they did and what, what the result was. So, yeah, that's good. Okay, Counselor Communications. Yes.
Since we met last, we lost one of our town mothers. We can't really call her a town father, but Ida Orgazi passed away, I believe, the 7th. And I would just, not to eulogize her fully, but Ida was a tireless worker for this town. I mean, even when her husband Jack was mayor, Ida had a lot to do with organizing everything. And she was our first mayor under our current form of government. And she kind of set the stage for what other mayors became and how this government runs. Also, she was a good friend, and I remember advising her when she first got elected, because she received more votes than anyone. And as I recall, not everyone expected her to become mayor. And I had the good fortune to be a good friend of hers, and we worked it out, and she became mayor. But I just thought we'd be remiss if we didn't at least acknowledge her passing and celebrate a little bit of her life. And if you would, Mayor, ask for a moment of silence. I think that would be appropriate.
Yes, if we can do that now.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you. How old
Thanks.
was she? How old was she?
90.
90. So, I mean, great life.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, not a
sorry to
bad
see her
run.
go, but a good run.
Yeah.
But never long enough. But
Nope.
a good run. So, yeah, that's great. I did read about her in the paper. That's awful. But yeah.
One more thing.
Yes.
So usually I send out Christmas cards, and you guys don't have any in front of you today, and you haven't received any in your mailbox. And the reason for that is because
Kept
this
looking,
year,
Kristen. I kept
yes,
looking
I
for it.
know.
I wondered where it was.
The reason for that is this year I wanted to donate to a charity instead of spending money on cards and postage. So I've made donation to the American Cancer Society. So everybody up here can feel like a little part of them is helping others this Christmas. So, and I do just want to extend, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you and all of your families, and hope everybody has a good holiday season.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Thank you.
Too.
Any other Counselor Communications down here?
Good.
Hearing none, I will also extend that Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everyone here.
Thank you.
Look forward to the holidays and I guess another year soon. All right, let's do acceptance of minutes. The December 6th, if I got a
Okay,
motion on that.
Make a motion to accept the town council meeting minutes from December 6th, 2016.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
One abstention. I was waiting for. I knew you were going to do it. I was waiting. Okay, now if we could just make a motion, we have to go into executive session.
Okay, motion to go into executive session, with respect to pending claims or pending litigation for 889 Farmington Avenue, and for collective bargaining records, report, and statement of strategy for middle management contracts.
And in that motion, we will include Denise and our corporate counsel.
Okay, invited in is our town manager and our corporation counsel.
Second on that?
Feel better.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.